Hello everyone, tonight's broadcast comes at a moment of extraordinary turbulence in American politics and global affairs. We begin with the breaking development that has sent shockwaves through Washington: the indictment of former FBI Director James Comey on 2 federal charges, a move that President Donald Trump is already pointing to as the beginning of what he suggests could be a sweeping wave of political prosecutions. The Justice Department confirmed late last night that Comey has been charged in connection with alleged mishandling of classified materials and obstruction of justice. Prosecutors outlined a series of decisions by Comey during his tenure that they argue violated federal law. Though legal details are still emerging, the political fallout was immediate as Trump seized on the indictment during an impromptu exchange with reporters on the White House lawn. This morning, the president, standing just steps from Marine One, declared that the Comey case is only the start, saying many others will follow when pressed to elaborate. Trump did not provide specific names, but insisted that the American people deserve to see accountability from what he repeatedly referred to as the deep state. Critics argue the move represents a dangerous politicization of law enforcement and a chilling precedent for how political opponents are treated in America. Yet, for Trump's supporters, the moment marked vindication of a years-long campaign to discredit Comey, whose role in the early Russia investigation has remained a point of anger on the right. Republican lawmakers close to Trump immediately praised the indictment. House Judiciary Committee Chair Elise Stefanik called it a historic step toward restoring trust in our institutions. Meanwhile, Democrats swiftly condemned the move. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer described it as a blatant weaponization of justice, meant to intimidate anyone who dares oppose the president. As the nation absorbs these developments, we turn to ABC's Pierre Thomas with more details from the Justice Department. Pierre explained that prosecutors have been building the case quietly for months, and that Comey's own public statements may have been used against him. Officials said the charges focus on his handling of classified memos he wrote after private meetings with then-President Trump in 2017. Those memos later leaked to the press, sparking widespread debate about whistleblowing and transparency. Now, years later, they form the backbone of an indictment that could reshape the debate over executive power. Pierre added that inside the FBI, morale is shaken. Some see the charges as payback, others fear a precedent that could ensnare career officials simply for making judgment calls in politically charged cases. From the corridors of Washington, we shift to the international stage tonight, where an exclusive one-on-one with Iran's president sheds light on a region once again on the edge of crisis in a sit-down interview conducted in New York during the United Nations General Assembly. Its Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi spoke at length about his country's vision for regional stability, relations with the United States, and the ongoing war in Gaza. Raisi reiterated that Iran will not bow to Western pressure, insisting that sanctions must be lifted unconditionally before any broader diplomatic engagement can resume. When pressed about the possibility of direct talks with President Trump, Raisi left the door open, only slightly, saying, "Iran will respond to actions, not words." He accused Washington of hypocrisy for condemning Iran's nuclear program, while selling advanced weapons to Middle Eastern allies who are destabilizing the region. The interview also touched on Iran's role in supporting proxy groups across the Middle East. Raisi defended what he called resistance movements in Lebanon, Syria, and Yemen, arguing that they represent legitimate defense against Israeli and American aggression. Yet he also stressed that Iran does not seek open war, raising questions about whether Tehran is positioning itself for a more pragmatic diplomatic posture. Analysts note that the timing is significant, with Washington seeking to deter escalation while also juggling crises from Ukraine to the Pacific. The Iranian leader's carefully calibrated words may be designed to signal flexibility without conceding core demands. Still, the interview underscored just how far apart the two nations remain on fundamental issues. Back at home, another flashpoint continues to dominate the domestic agenda. The battle over illegal immigration this week saw a series of dramatic confrontations along the southern border as federal and state authorities escalate enforcement in the wake of Trump's newly signed executive orders in Texas. The deployment of additional National Guard units has fueled tensions with local communities. Civil rights groups documented multiple instances of asylum seekers being turned away without due process, sparking renewed legal challenges. Meanwhile, in Arizona, reports emerged of violent clashes between migrants and Border Patrol agents, leading to dozens of injuries and renewed calls for congressional action. Yet on Capitol Hill, lawmakers remain deeply divided. Republicans largely back Trump's crackdown, framing it as essential to national security. Democrats warn that the aggressive tactics risk humanitarian catastrophe and undermine America's international image. To capture the human dimension, ABC's Maria Villarreal traveled to a migrant shelter in El Paso, where she spoke with families caught in the crossfire. One mother from Honduras described a harrowing journey through Mexico, only to be separated from her teenage son upon arrival at the border. Choking back tears, she said she has no idea where he is now. Migrant advocacy groups warn that such separations may become more common under the new enforcement regime. The administration insists it is acting within the law and that its priority is to restore order after what Trump called years of chaos and open borders. Yet federal judges are already being asked to block certain provisions of the orders, setting up a legal showdown that could determine the future of immigration policy for decades to come. As we continue tonight, as broadcast, there are other major developments around the world. In Europe, tensions between Russia and NATO reached a new high after drone incidents in the Baltic Sea. Russia dismissed accusations of involvement as absurd, while NATO allies vowed to increase surveillance and deterrence measures in Eastern Europe. The incident comes as Ukraine continues its counteroffensive, with mixed results raising concerns about whether Western support is beginning to fray in Asia. President Xi Jinping of China unveiled a sweeping new economic initiative designed to counter Western sanctions and position Beijing as the leader of a new global trading order. The plan includes massive infrastructure investments across Africa and South America, and analysts say it reflects China's determination to reshape international norms in its favor. In domestic economic news, the stock market reacted nervously to the political turmoil in Washington and the global uncertainties. Wall Street opened sharply lowered this morning, with the Dow dropping nearly 500 points before recovering slightly by closing bell. Investors cited fears that political prosecutions and escalating geopolitical tensions could destabilize business confidence. The Federal Reserve Chair warned in testimony today that uncertainty is the greatest threat to sustained recovery. Inflation remains under control for now. But consumer sentiment surveys reveal growing unease about the future, especially as gasoline prices hit their highest levels in nearly a year. Throughout all these stories, a common theme emerges: the sense that the world is at an inflection point, with old assumptions collapsing and new realities taking shape, whether it is a former FBI director facing indictment, a president hinting at more prosecutions to come, a foreign leader staking out his country's position on the global stage, or families torn apart at the border. The stakes feel higher than ever, the question confronting Americans and the world tonight is how much of this turbulence represents temporary storms and how much signals a deeper transformation in the structures of power that have defined the last generation. This is the landscape we will continue to follow in the hours and days ahead. Our correspondents across Washington, Tehran, Brussels, and along the southern border remain on the ground, bringing you the latest developments and first-hand accounts of lives shaped by decisions made in capitals near and far. In moments like these, clarity is hard to find, but the responsibility of journalism is to cut through the noise, to seek truth, and to hold those in power accountable. We thank you for joining us tonight. As these stories continue to unfold, stay with us for more analysis and reaction after this short break.